So I appreciate everybody showing up today. It's funny, I was driving here today and I realized I haven't done this since last March. And I did this particular training twice before the shutdown, and I did it a third time about a month before. So I was excited to do it again because this is one of my favorite trainings. So let me just ask, raise your hand. Is it okay if I'm completely transparent with you today during this training? All right, raise your hand. Is that completely okay? Because what I like to say about training is I'm going to give you guys some actionable items that you can use in your business, but you know what today's training is not going to get you? It's not going to get you a listing. Just by coming to this training, walking out of the room, and going on with your day is not going to produce a new listing. But it's what you do and you take with this information and you create action with it and keep yourself accountable with the information is what's going to make the difference. Because again, being completely transparent, I've gone to trainings, I've gone to seminars, and I've been so excited with the information I got that I'm ready to run outside the room. And I don't know about you, but I've lost steam within about 5 minutes after the seminar, right? Every great idea I heard I was going to implement, and I probably learned it from somebody who never sold real estate or recruited an agent in their life. But I go out, I run out, I said, okay, great, I'm going to do all this, and then it just falls flat. So I like to be completely transparent, and I like to tell people what you're going to learn today is not going to get you a listing, but what you do with this information and the action you take is what's going to create it. So we call this the Rolling 10, 5 ways to carry more than 10 listings always. So things we are going to learn about today. We're going to talk about the 3 C's that you need to be a great listing agent. And if any of you follow me on social media or you talk to me, I always talk about these 3 C's. One is confidence. If you are not confident as a listing agent, as an agent, the seller's gonna see this. And you know how I know this? I was 26 years old on a listing presentation for $1 million house and I got laughed out of the appointment. Laughed out of the appointment. The seller looked at me and says, "You really don't know what you're doing, do you?" I said, "No, I'm not. No, I don't." He's like, "I'm not gonna list with you." I said, "I understand." Because I was not confident. And you know what else happens? I've talked to thousands of agents. Thousands of agents. You know how many agents always tell me, "Oh, when I go on a listing appointment, I nail it every time." Nobody nails all their listing appointments. Nobody has a 100% conversion rate, right? But the more confident you are with your listing presentation, the more confident you're going to be with your listing prospecting. Because a lot of times, if you're not confident about your conversion in the appointment, and I do a whole listing presentation where I go through 13 questions that I ask every seller, and I set the tone, because I always say the person who wins the listing presentation is going to win the time working together. Who here has been on a listing presentation and you walked out that door and the first thing you thought is, "I can't believe I just signed a contract that this person's going to be in my life for the next 6 months." Right? I always sometimes say some of the best listings you take are the ones you don't. This market, it's a little different, right? When I did this training last March, it was a whole completely different world and market. But the more confident you are with your listing presentation, with your ability to handle listings, the more confident you're going to be in generating more leads. Consistency. If anyone hears me speak, I am all about this word consistency. Usually, businesses change when you're consistent in your actions. So I've talked to agents, "Oh, Carl, I tried a mailer, that didn't work. Oh, Carl, I did one video, that didn't work. Oh, I tried this one time and that didn't work." Now we say, "Well, let me ask you a question. Did you go to the gym once, do cardio for a half hour, and eat grilled chicken for lunch and not lose the weight you wanted to lose? Does that mean the gym and eating healthy doesn't work?" Right? It's a consistency. I always say you want to get attached to your process, not your immediate result. So the consistent actions you take is what makes all the difference. Clarity. You have to know what you want. I knew, and I'm gonna get into this in a little bit, I knew right away I was not good with buyers. I would show a house, I was awkward, it was weird, I couldn't open lock boxes, I just wasn't built for it. Right? And I was lucky that I was able to tailor my business, and this is kind of the anomaly, not the norm when you're newer in the business, but I was able to tailor my business where I could handle a large listing inventory. And this was around 2007. I got very heavy into distressed properties, and I was able to carve myself a good niche. And that's all, you have to have a whole different mentality for that business. So it's really knowing what you want and being clear on it. The more clear you are, the better you're gonna be. Things we're not gonna learn about. We are not gonna learn. Guess what? I don't have the magic pill today. I'm not gonna sit here at the end and say, if you pay me $19.95 a month, I'm gonna sell you a product that's gonna generate you listings. There are people making hundreds of millions. I'm saying this correct. Hundreds of millions of dollars of selling realtors junk. You could spend $19.95 a month in this business and go broke. Who here gets a phone number with like a 206 area code or a certain area code? You know it's someone trying to sell you something. And how frustrating is it? There's a company, OpCity, who now is owned by Realtor.com. OpCity was buying leads, listen to this, from Zillow, buying leads from Realtor.com, buying leads from Home.com, buying leads from Boomtown, Brivity, all these companies. Scrubbing the leads, giving them back to agents for a 35% referral fee. Guess how much OpCity sold for? This is the interactive part. Anybody, take a guess. You can tell me $2.
Mark's got an answer.
Mark, $1 billion. It sold for $200 million. And all they did was buy leads from this company, give them out to agents, take a referral fee, and then sell it back to the company they were buying the leads from. I sat in a training 3 years ago and I said, hey, listen, to all the agents, and we have agents with pretty big Zillow spends. I said, you know Zillow's gonna turn upside down how they charge for their leads. Who here in the last year has used Uber Eats, DoorDash, any of that, right? What's the model? They get paid a percentage fee for connecting the restaurant to the owner. OpCity, Realtor.com now is ending contracts with buying leads. Because why are they going to sell you leads for $1,000 when they could charge you a 35% referral fee and control the transaction? So let me ask, and Realtor.com is owned by Robert Murdoch, who's out of Australia, and guess what his company does there? That's what they do in Australia. So let me ask you, Zillow, who's one of their #1 competitors? Realtor.com. So what we're seeing is Zillow flipping to a Flex program. And what do you think they're doing on the Flex program? They're going to give leads to agents for a 35% referral fee. And every agent that they sold leads to, and they asked those leads to use their technology, that agents don't use, because they say, you know what, Zillow, why am I going to use that? I'm paying you all this money. I'll use whatever I want. But if they're giving you the lead on a 35% referral fee, and the key is you have to use their tech, guess what they're going to do? Use the tech. Now, some of you are saying, well, why do they care if people use their technology? I'm going on a little bit of a tangent here, so I hope you don't mind. Because across the Hudson River, there's a street where a lot of these things determine value, Wall Street. And the more people that are using their data, the higher their valuation is. So the reason I share, and the higher their stock price goes. So the reason I share this, because I like to let people know what's happening in the industry. This is something I started talking about 3 years ago in a training to tell people to get prepared for. Because if your business was heavy on Zillow leads, you're going to be in a big shock. We're not going to talk about, too, is resting on your resume to get the listing. We are in the most competitive listing market ever. And I've been there and I've seen agents done this. Well, I've done this, I've done that, I've done this for the business. But it's going to take more than that. I like quotes. A big quote guy, big football fan. This is one of my favorite quotes. The dictionary is the only place that success becomes before work. So I see all these agents who want to build a big listing inventory, and they're comparing themselves to an agent who's been in the business for 10, 15 years. Why can't I get a listing? You're looking at this agent's page 100 in their book. They're not looking at that agent's page 1 in the book and everything they did to build that big listing inventory. You got to focus on your page 1. And there's really no magic pill. To build a big listing inventory, it takes hard work. There's no other way to get around it. It takes hard work. So it was 2006. I'll take you on a little timeline. Carl Sanfilippo with hair was living in Philadelphia, working in political science after going to Muhlenberg, after getting my master's degree at Lehigh, and I had my dream job. Well, I found out within 30 days that my dream job sucked. So 30 days later, I pick up the phone, I call mom and dad. I said, hey, mom, dad, I'm moving home. I haven't lived at home since 18, I'm moving home. Mom, dad, did you hear me? I'm moving home. My mom's like, oh, we got to redo your room. All right, we're moving. They're like, well, what are you going to do? You got to have a plan. I said, I'm going to be a realtor. This is before it was cool and it was on TV shows and everything else. I grew up around real estate. I wanted to get into it. So I got in around April 2006. Do you guys remember what, anyone who was in the business in April 2006, was that a good market or a bad market? It was a good market. I came into this business, people talked about this real estate market, and they talked about it like it was the Loch Ness Monster. They're like, the market. I'm like, I don't even know what that means. So here I am, 25, 26 years old. I'm broke, living at my parents'. Luckily, my dad didn't charge me rent. I got a Discover credit card. I still have the credit card. It was 0% interest. All right, I can live my life on this credit card for the next year, and if I can't pay this off at the end of 12 months, I'm going to go get a real job, because this is not a real job, right? I like getting real estate, so I get freedom. I could work less hours. Good luck. It's all right. So I get this credit card. I still have shore houses with my friends. I'm still going out. You know, I'm the guy. I'm like, hey, I'll pick up the tab. I'll put it on my credit card. Give me the cash. This is not a Dave Ramsey sanctioned training, right? But you got to do what you got to do when you're building a business, right? And I went in every day and I treated it like a job when I was a new agent. I was there 9 o'clock. I was there to 5. There was this thing that I used. It had 9 digits on it to build business. It was called a phone, because there was nothing else. There was no Zillow. There was no anything else. I didn't have money. I didn't have friends that were buying houses. So I had to create the business. My first calendar year, I did $15 million in production. And people like, you know, oh, yeah, you got lucky, that. And then listen, a little luck, a little timing, but a lot of hard work. So here I am, did this. I built a team. We were pretty successful before Teams was cool. I didn't even know I had a team. I tell the story, people are like, oh, you had a team? I'm like, I did have a team, yeah. Had a team, we were doing a ton of business, everything was going good. 7 years later, I must have hit my head somewhere. I said, I'm gonna buy a real estate office. Purchased my office in East Brunswick. I went through the toughest 18 months of my life. I went through litigation with my old broker, someone I knew since I was 5 years old, over a non-compete I signed that I didn't even realize I signed when I first got in the business and I didn't do any business. I was in the courts for 18 months. I was in recruiting appointments trying to build that business, and I had people in my office getting served as I'm in recruiting appointments, right? And the reason I tell that story is because people might say, oh, you did this, yeah, but you didn't see this stuff, right? You didn't see me have to get a 0% interest credit card again because I was getting mad. 3 things happened to me in 1 week. Some I don't want to happen again. I got engaged. I really like my wife. I don't want that to happen again. I bought the brokerage. Obviously, we've done that again. And I got into this litigation that was really tough. And I remember, it was in September. Who here has ever heard of Eric LeGrand? Some of you? So Eric LeGrand played football at Rutgers University. He got paralyzed on the field. He's now the head of the Christopher Reeve Foundation. He's a Colonia kid, Woodbridge. And I remember, I'm sitting on the edge of my bed. Something just went the wrong way for me in court. And I'm feeling bad. I'm like, what did you do? You were running this team. Things were going well. Why are you doing this? Like, do you really need this? Like, did you make the wrong decision? And I'm maybe like 32 years old at the time, so 31, 8 years ago. So I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, and I'm listening. There's a show. There was Boomer and Carton in the morning at the time. Carton went to jail for a Ponzi scheme. He's back. That's a whole other story. But when I do this training in Arkansas and I explain that, I'm like, yeah, he went to jail for a Ponzi scheme. It's like, what? Anyway, so it's a lot easier in New Jersey. So when I do this, so I'm sitting on the edge of my bed and I'm listening to the radio. And this is a guy who's paralyzed from the neck down. If you ever heard Eric speak, he's incredible. And he's talking about how lucky he is and how he was put in this situation for an opportunity. I remember I picked up my head, I looked in the mirror, I said, man, Carl, I'll beep it out. Like, you're an effing loser. I'm like, this guy can't walk. And he's saying how lucky he is, and you're here throwing yourself a pity party because one thing didn't go your way. Let's go. Right? So then we really started working on the brokerage, we started building, we scaled that. So the reason I tell the story is the first time I got a listing, I was like, this is cool, how do I get 10? I got 10, I'm like, how do I scale this to 100 with REOs and whatever else? How do I scale? Even so with the brokerage, I enjoy the part of scaling. Right? Some people like golf, I scale. I like golf, I just think at it. But right, it's always, so that's why I want to talk about that, because when we're talking about building a listing inventory, it's very tough right now to carry 10 listings, right? Because you're getting listings, they're just flying off the market. But in a normal market, and if you have been in real estate for less than 2 years, this is not a normal market, I hate to give you the news flash. But who here has carried 10 listings before in a normal market? The flowers smell better, the grass is greener, people are just calling you, you're getting buyer leads. What are the best buyer leads in this business though? On your listings. So when you carry 10 listings, it's the best. And I know because I've been there. So that's why I always tell agents, when you're focused on building, just focus to that 10, 30. We have agents 30, 40 listings they're carrying. Again, normal market. And I think we're going to see inventory loosen up in the next few months. Because school is going to be settled back in, things are going to get more settled, things are more opening up, we're going to see more listings. I want to talk about a few books that I read that have helped me in business and becoming a listing agent. First one, Dan S. Kennedy. He is the godfather of info commercials. So I'm sorry, but the guy knows what he's doing. Who here has ever heard of Craig Proctor, real estate coach? Craig Proctor has learned everything from Dan Kennedy. He is the king of copyright. Copyright is so important in any mailing you send. Even if even the way you post on social media, if anybody's connected with me on Facebook, if you see how I post, when I post something, I pay a lot of attention to my copyright. Because people remember what they see, read, and hear. So if you're sending out a mailer, we're going to go into this a little bit, is if the better your copyright is on the mailer, the higher conversion rate you will get. Next, Good to Great by Jim Collins. Has anyone ever read this book? I talked about this in my training last month. Who here remembers Eckerd? The drugstore? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Everyone's like, why? You told me you were going to talk about Eckerd today. I would not have believed you. Right? You remember Eckerd. Who knows what Eckerd's business model was? Eckerd would go to every strip mall and buy every mom and pop pharmacy, stick their ugly blue awning on it, and call it Eckerd. Eckerd is no longer in business. Eckerd was a good company, though. Who here has heard of a company called Walgreens? Yeah. Who knows Walgreens' business model? Walgreens has a very specific model. They put pharmacies on corners where you can make a right turn on each road. They don't go into strip malls. They're very strategic where they locate it. Same business model, slight difference. One was a good company, one is a great company. Let me ask a question. Who in this room can cook just like a great cheeseburger? If I came over and you cooked me a cheeseburger, I'd be like, this is a great cheeseburger. Mark, punch you? Let me ask you, are any of you going to sell more cheeseburgers than McDonald's? Is your cheeseburger better than McDonald's? Right? Just some things to think about. So Good to Great is a great read. Just brush over the chapters about Circuit City, because I guess that didn't work out. Atomic Habits. This is one of my favorite reads. Atomic Habits is about making changes and being attached to your process. I have a coach in my life, a guy's name is John Cheplack. He has a saying, he says it to me all the time. Small hinges swing big doors. It's usually the small changes you make in your business, in your routine, the way you eat, your sleep. It's usually these small changes that make the biggest differences. So when I feel like I'm not in a place I want to be, business, personal, I analyze. I don't look at what's the big sweeping change I need to make, but what are the small little changes that I need to make and make them consistently that are going to produce that result. So Atomic Habit is a fantastic read. So, being busy does not always mean real work. The object of all work is production and accomplishment. Seeming to do is not to do. I told you I'm a quote guy by Thomas Edison. Who here has got home at the end of the day, you sit down, turn on the game, have a glass of wine, whatever it is, and you're like, wow, what a busy day. And then you're like, but I got nothing done. Who here has had 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, however many properties under contract, and you're no longer a realtor? Do you know what your new job is?
Paper pusher.
Firefighter. You're putting fires out left and right. Psh, 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 psh. Psychiatrist. Right? And then what happens? I've had this happen. Agent walk in my office. Carl, I'm so slow. Like, I am so slow. I'm like, how many deals you got pending? 5. Okay, when was the last time you prospected? Oh, I've been so busy with the deals. When you commit to prospecting every single day or consistently, you know what happens to your business? You eliminate the peaks and valleys. I always say in this business, you can't take the highs too high and the lows too lows. And the agents that have been with me for a long time, every time I say that, they just roll their eyes and go, I hate when you say that. But it's true. Nothing lasts forever. This market will not last forever. The market that we're going to go into next, and who knows what that's going to look like, that won't last forever too. 2008 didn't last forever. It felt like it did. Right? For agents that were in the market 2008 to 2011 was a long 3 years. So you got to keep that in mind. You can't take the highs too highs in this business. You can't take the lows too lows, and you can't make everybody else's emergency your emergency. You got to focus. If you commit to prospecting, I like to prospect in the morning. It's like the gym. There's plenty of times where I say I'm going to go to the gym in the afternoon, and I drive home with my gym bag because I never went, because I made up 1,000,001 excuses why I didn't go. But if I do it in the morning, I get it out of the way, right? I always like to take care of the 5,000-pound elephant in the morning, because around 4 o'clock, my brain starts going on the fritz anyway. I'm up at 4:45, 5 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes I catch myself calling people at like 6:30 a.m. I'm like, all right, Carl, relax. I'm like ready to go. I'm ready to go. I might be catching people coming home.
More likely.
I've done that. I have friends that'll call me 6 o'clock. I realize they didn't go to sleep. Anyway, but it's just knowing your routine and getting what it is. The morning works for me, but you have to figure out what works for you, and you have to treat your prospecting like an appointment. And prospecting doesn't mean just burning and turning phones. It could be doing your past client follow-up. It could be doing mailings. It could be doing whatever. It could be doing your follow-up. One thing that I always said that helped in my success as an agent, right? And this is from me, from experience, not from a book that was written 20 years ago, is that I was really good with follow-up. When I was 26 and I was living at my parents' house, I treated every lead like it was my last, because it could have been. So my follow-up, I was and this is all before, you put them in a drip campaign, you could do this, all that stuff is good, but at the end of the day, I did a lot of real estate without that crap as a borderline millennial. Truth is, specialists who dig deep in certain areas make more money than specializes in everything. Who here, you've seen the agent who's like, well, they're email signatures, they're the luxury specialist, the certified distressed property expert, the senior specialist. They have every specialist. You can't specialize in everything. I specialized a lot in distressed properties. I did a ton of I was able to generate a ton of residential leads, but I was able to field them out because I had so many distressed properties. But I knew what my specialty was. And I dug deep on it. It's kind of like a doctor. Your copay, your bill is a lot more expensive when you go to the specialist than when you go to the general doctor, right? For the antibiotic. And what I also noticed too is when you figure out what you specialize in and you really enjoy it, you're going to do more of it. So I'm going to use you as an example. You love farms. Right. Everybody knows it. And I'm sure you love doing it. Right? I specialize in distressed. We have agents that I have an agent that calls herself the condo queen. She loves selling condos. So it's really finding what you like doing, specializing in that. Because I also have a saying, and I posted this the other day. You know what happens when you try to go in 17 different directions? You only go in one, and it's down. I was a wrestler. When I wrestled in high school, I was okay at 10 moves. I was an okay wrestler. My best friend had 2 moves you couldn't stop. He was a state champion and All-American in college. It always stuck with me. Like, do you want to be the wrestler that I was, or do you want to be the state champion? And he had 2 moves you couldn't stop. I'm a huge baseball fan, Yankees, Mariano Rivera. Sorry to everybody else's teams, I really don't care, but my team sucks anyway. Mariano Rivera was the greatest closer in baseball. He got into the he was one of the first players to get voted 100% into no, he didn't get 100%, he got robbed. You know how many pitches Mariano Rivera had? 1. He had a pitch that nobody could hit. And it makes him one of the greatest ones of all time. So just something to think about when you're thinking about your business. Truth is, too, is not every agent is wired to carry more than 10 listings. Listen, I'm in the Facebook groups online, and I see all this stuff about you got to be a listing agent, You know what? If you don't like listings and you have a system that handles more buyers and you enjoy doing that, God bless. Typical market, disclaimer. Working with buyers is easier. And this is what I mean, easier. You work with a buyer, we're so excited, we're going to go see 3 houses. This is how I want to spend my Sunday. I don't really want to watch the Giants game. I want to look at houses. Right? The last buy-side deal I did was 2012 was my wife's best friend, tremor through the whole deal. The whole time going through the process, I'm looking at them like, I got to have dinner with these people next Saturday. They're going to think I screwed them. Right? I'm like sweating bullets. I'm like, you can have my commission, just be happy, right? Right? But they were happy. They're like, Carl, isn't this fun? I'm like, yeah, this is fun. I have nothing else I'd rather be doing right now than going through all these houses with you two. Right? It was fun until you get to inspections, and obviously this market's different, right? This market, buyers are really getting burned out. There's a ton of fatigue. There's fatigues with buyers, sellers, agents, right? Buyers are getting fatigued, they're getting beat out, they're getting into attorney review, and then they're getting kicked out of attorney review. Sellers are getting tired, and everyone always say that, people look at me like I'm crazy, but I'm like, you know, sellers are getting tired, they don't want to keep showing the house, they don't know how to analyze these 24 offers, and they're waving this, you know, putting their first kid through college, they don't know what to think. Sellers agents are getting beat up by buyers agents, you know, it's just a lot of fatigue in this market, and it's tough, and I feel for everybody. But in the normal market, your buyers are typically happy until you get to the inspections, right? And then they found dust on a railing, and it's a $30,000 credit. Right? And we're seeing that now. Inspections are so tough, especially when everything's going multiple offers. People are like, I'm paying $40,000 over list price for this house, and I got all these issues with the house. Right? You guys seeing that? But so what happens though is with the sellers, and I've been there. Who's had this seller? Carl, it's Mr. Schmidt. Hey, Mr. Schmidt, what's going on? Somebody left a half bath light on in my house. So we have a new agreement right now. Like, oh, Mr. Schmidt, what? Because you need to be at every single showing to make sure that no lights are left on, you know. Times that by 12. Who here has had the seller said, hey, we're going to list your house. I'm going to use a number, $300,000. God forbid you got that price right away. They're like, oh, it's $300,000. Like, I knew you listed it too low, Carl. Let's go. We're not taking this. Hey, you know, you have an oil tank that you didn't know about underground. Oh, Carl, you should be paying for the removal. I'm like, oh, yeah. Because I put your oil tank in 1975. I was born in 81. So what I say is not everybody's wired to be a listing agent. I was wired to be a listing agent. I was not wired to be the buyer's agent. I'd show the house, yeah, these are countertops. What's the material? Countertops. Right, and it's okay, I wasn't wired for that. But for the sellers, I don't know, man, I guess I just got made fun of my whole life, so I could just take it and just roll with it. Like, Carl, I'm not happy about this. Like, yeah, it's fine. Like, I could compartmentalize it. So I was okay carrying a lot of listings. I would get anxiety with the buyers, right? They're looking over my shoulder, the lockbox isn't working. Like, oh, give me a minute. You know, the seller wants to call me and yell at me. I'm like, yeah, just take a number. But all right, so it's like, I was wired for that. But why I would tell that story is I've worked with agents who have done platinum level production just working with buyers. And this agent would say to me, I don't want to deal with sellers, they're whiny. So you got to know what you got to like. You know, a lot of people want to think they're going to be a big listing agent, but a lot of times people can't make that hurdle into listing agent for no more reason than they're not that confident and they don't really enjoy working with sellers. But you know what? You say that in a room full of realtors, you get a lot of weird looks. I'm saying it's okay. Because this business is the best when you're doing the amount of business you want and the amount of time you want to spend on doing it. And that's different for everybody. There's an NAR stat. Does anyone know the stat? I mean, I'm giving it away here, but how many hours you spend with a buyer compared to a seller? I'm sure the stat's going to change after this year. Right? You spend 4 times with one buyer as you do with one seller. So let's talk about scalability. In my opinion, I always thought, man, it's a lot easier for me to be able to scale this than to scale the buyer side. For me with REOs, I was like, it's a lot easier for me at 26 years old to have no friends with money to be able to scale an REO business by making contacts and doing, you know, it wasn't easy, but I could scale an REO business a lot easier because of my situation than I can a regular residential business. And then when it was time, I was able to incorporate a residential business into it. I swear I'm going to show you guys some listing stuff too. Why do you want to be a listing agent? Right? Because listing agent equals leverage. You sell a house for $300,000, let's just say it was a 3% commission, $9,000. Who here has ever had that listing that just spider webs? it changes your whole year. You get the listing. I use the example. We have an agent in East Brunswick. His name is Rocco. Right? That always gets people to laugh too, like when I do this in other states. They're like, really, his name is Rocco? I'm like, yeah, it's New Jersey, come on. Anyway, so he cold called a for sale by owner, got the listing, right? He did an open house. A potential buyer came in, didn't buy that house, but he ended up listing their house and then sold them a house. He got another buyer from the open house and sold them another property. I'm like running out of fingers. Then he got the buyer for that townhouse and then sold the seller something else. I ran out of fingers. I think I'm at 7. That one cold call or prospecting got him 7 deals. And I get it, you work with a buyer, you put them in your referral program, it's going to create more. That one buyer is usually that one transaction, and then you put them in your referral system. But with the seller, it could spider web into multiple deals. So that's how the math breaks down. So the truth is, if you really want to be a big listing agent, you got to be consistently prospecting for the business, especially now more than ever. Time. How much time should you be spending prospecting? Truth is, your career changes when you commit to prospecting daily. Bigger truth is usually not as much time as you think. So if you're just doing it for a half hour a day, 5 days a week, that turns into hours of prospecting a month you've spent. So first technique we're going to go over is expired listings. This was my favorite. I heard so many people go, ugh, I loved expired. It was like a game. Why did I like expired? Guess what they've already done? They've already listed with an agent. Right? For sale by owner, you're usually trying to overcome that they never listed with an agent. Expired, they've already listed it with an agent. And when you get an expired on the phone and you do this right, do you know what that person will do? They will tell you everything they hated about their agent, and they're going to tell you everything you better not do. They will set the expectations for you so quick and so easily, and over and over and over again. 15 minutes a day. You can dial the phone 10 times. You know what happens too? Nobody picks up. So you get someone on the phone, they usually like to talk. But I would call expireds, and we would lay them on with our distressed properties. The biggest thing people misjudge when calling expireds or doing the sales over the phone in typical is all about your tone, and it's all about your steadiness. So I'll show agents how to call expireds. I'll do a couple with them. And this is how they call expireds. Hey, Mr. Expired, my name is blah, blah, blah. I'm with Remax, da, da, da. They sound like Crazy Eddie. Remember Crazy Eddie commercials? Like, oh, blah, 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 blah. Carl, I made the call. They just weren't interested. I'm like, you just rushed to get off the phone so you could turn around and tell me you made the call. And I've coached inside sales agents and other things on how to make these calls. You need to be slow and steady when you speak. You need to ask good questions. And you need to let the other person speak. What were the challenges you faced with your last agent? Well, and then I see the agent, was it because they didn't market your house? Was it because of this? I would tell them, shut up. Let them talk. Don't cut them off. Use your manners. This is what you learned in 5th grade. Apply it to calling expireds. They're going to tell you everything you need to know. Because what's going to happen is, what do most expireds say about their agents?
Never called.
I never heard from my agent. What else?
They never showed it.
They never showed it. Their marketing stinks. So when you're gonna go meet with this expired, what am I gonna go talk about? I'm gonna talk about how you're gonna hear from me. I'm gonna show you my marketing. And I'm gonna set the right expectations with you right there. So for me, I didn't mind expires because to be frank, they gave me the roadmap of what I needed to do. Because I'm not that smart, so I don't like trying to figure it out. I'd rather have them tell me. Hi, this is Carl Sanfilippo with RE/MAX. I specialize with owners that a home is expired. Are you still accepting offers? So what's happening now is, are there a lot of expireds? No. When do a lot of houses expire and then we see them relist? The holidays. How many times you talk to someone and say, we're waiting for after the holidays? We're waiting for the spring market. I don't even know what a spring market is anymore in this market. Do you guys? It's like the never-ending spring market. And one thing I like about agents too, right? It's so busy. You know, as soon as it slows down a little bit, everyone's gonna be like, whoa, what's going on? There's more inventory. What's happening to the market, right? So what's gonna happen is, guess what happened in the fall of 2019? Or the winter of 2019? A lot of people took their house off the market. And then what did they say? We're going to sell in the spring after the holidays. Well, what happened in March last year? How many people were putting a house back on the market? If I was to call expireds today, I wouldn't be going after the fruit that everybody else was going after. I'd be going after the 2019 people. Especially if it was my expired, or someone I was working with, or somebody I was having conversations with. Because right now, there's a handful of expireds, and everybody's calling those expireds. I like to go fish where there's nobody else fishing, right? So I go back to 2019, 2018, and really work on that. And I would also try to get expireds of investors. Because what has happened to investors in the last year? They're having a tough time. Even if their tenant has been paying rent, they're still like, I don't know, maybe I should get out. So I'd be focused on investment properties that had expired, absentee owners, things like that. Right, what I'm just trying to do is just trying to give you a couple different ideas of things that might work for you. Because I like to try to look at the trends of what's happening. You know, explain what makes you different from other, you know, what is your biggest reason you believe your home didn't sell the first time? Is that an open-ended question or a closed question? It's an open, right? They can't just say, why do you think your home didn't sell the first time? They just can't say no. And sometimes you hear some pretty creative responses. My beep, 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 beep. All right, you know, got to roll with the punches. But the reason I like to ask that question again is they're giving me the roadmap of why their house didn't sell. So I know exactly what to do. My goal was to never get the listing over the phone. My goal was just to get into the door to meet them. And what I would do is I would set the appointment, and I usually sent them something beforehand. I'm a big pre-listing packet guy. So expired resources, you know, I get this question all the time. Dialers, Mojo, RedX, Vulcan 7, Sales Dialer, all the data. Again, Land Voice, RedX, Cold Realty. People ask me about scripts. People get so, I've seen so many people getting ready to get ready. I'm gonna call expireds. I need to find the right script, I need the right headset, I need the right chair, I need this. I don't know, man. I was just like, I just picked up the phone and did it. I didn't have any good scripts, but you know, I came over time. I wasn't afraid to make mistakes to improve myself. You know, I had a mentor that used to always tell me, like, stop getting ready to get ready. You just Google Mike Ferry expired scripts. His scripts are good. They work. They're free. They're out there. So, and what I would do too is if you had a listing that expired in the last 2 years, I would go back to that. I would go back to condos that expired before the pandemic. Because condo prices, you know, me and Donato were just talking about a condo complex and how crazy the prices have gotten. And with everything happening, when people are looking for more space with the pandemic, this is such a great time to go after that market. The for sale by owner. I'm going to preface this. I have an agent in our East Brunswick office that went through my, I call it the for sale by owner boot camp. She went through my boot camp. She started getting for sale by owners listings left and right. I started calling her the Fizbo Queen. She'd walk in, I'd clap. And she had never done it, and this was somebody who was afraid to get outside their comfort zone. But she found this technique to be the best technique for her. And she probably got about 10 for sale by owner listings in a year. So what's happening right now? Are we going to see more Fizbos or less Fizbos in this market? Right? Because why?
So easy to sell.
Right. So whenever I talk about for sale, but oh, you know, do they really need an agent? You know, that's a limiting belief. There are still Fizbos every day listing with agents. I know because I see it. It's still happening, right? Who here has got the for sale by owner? They had deals fall apart. They accepted an offer that really wasn't that strong. Right now, in my opinion, agents need, for sale by owners need agents more, not less. How many times as a listing agent have you received an offer and you're like, this is confusing, right? We're going to appraise the, we're going to waive the appraisal up to $7,235, but not if there's a septic, just like all these crazy terms that are coming in offers. This is the time we're needed more, not less. If you're a real estate broker and you think your agents are in the office too much, just put a for sale by owner sign by the front door. Your agent will never come into the office again. I thought that was funny. Mike Ferry quote. I grew up as a son of a realtor, my mom. And we had the station wagon out of the Griswolds with the brown side paneling on it. No seat belts. You know how many times I almost got chucked out of the car because of a for sale by owner sign? I love the question, where do I find for sale by owner leads? I'm like, oh my God. They put a sign in the front of their house with the phone number. And I know that because I almost got thrown out of a Chevy station wagon because my mom would drive by, see it, and write that down. I'm like, oh yeah. I'm gonna start wearing a helmet in these car trips. Right? She worked a lot with for sale by owners. The information's out there. And the truth is, not many of your competition and other agents are going to be working for sale by owners, especially now. Because everyone thinks there's no way they're going to list with an agent. So this is by far the warmest territory a real estate agent can enter. This is my mentality about working with for sale by owners. This is what happens. A for sale by owner, right? Beautiful Saturday morning, big stretch. I'm going to sell this house myself. They get the red sign, for sale by owner. What is that homeowner thinking right now? They just put the sign out, brand new for sale by owner listing. What are they thinking? I got this. I don't need an agent.
This is so easy.
No problem. They're on a high, right? Like my 235 social media followers are going to get this thing sold right now. They get the sign out there. They got that swag. So what do most agents do? They attack them. You don't know what you're doing. You need to work with a realtor. I could sell your house for top dollar. Come on. This guy's sitting there like, I don't need anybody. And what happens to all those agents that hit up the for sale by owner right away? Do they ever follow back up? So what happens 6 weeks later with this guy who's got the sign out saying, I got this, is now thinking, oh no, my house still isn't sold. What's going on? how many agents are there for that for sale by owner when they're kind of standing in front of their for sale by owner sign with their head down? That's where you need to be with that FSBO. You can't be there right in the beginning when they have all the confidence in the world and think it's going to be an easy process. You have to be there when the for sale by owner realizes this is harder than they thought. Right? We have in our center a marketing package called for sale by owners. It's called Learn How to List and Market Your House Like a Realtor. And we use this and give it to for sale by owners. People are thinking, well, why would you want to give them this information? Really what it is, it's a direct marketing piece, talking about all the pitfalls that they could fall into. Oh, sorry. But you want to be there as a resource. If you want to come in as a consultative, you don't want to come off combative. Who knows who's here that ever heard of forsalebuyowner.com? Did he sell his house with a realtor or with an agent in Seattle? Oh, with a realtor. This is the guy that owns forsalebuyowner.com. He sold his house with a realtor. And what I would do is when I wanted to automate working with for sale by owners, this is sort of the flow. Week 1, you want to get face-to-face. Introduce yourself. Hi, I do a lot of work in this area. If there's anything you need, I like to see that everybody get top dollar in this area because it's good for comps. If you have any questions, concerns, let me know. Boom. Very soft. Week 2, hey, here's some information to for sale by owner packet. Hey, here's some comps that I pulled that you might not have thought of. Here you go. Right? You're just adding value. You're not asking for anything. You can hand over a vendor list. The week 5, you could call them. You could contact them weekly, check in. What I would do is I set up a action campaign in a CRM where once a week they got an email from me with some item of value, very nonchalant, very non-pushy. That's kind of my style to start with. But I would set that up and I would automate it once I got their contact information. But don't rule out for sale by owners. Excuse me, because there's only going to be more of them coming up in the next few months. And when you see a lot of for sale by owner houses, do you usually see the pricing pretty good on them or pretty bad? I would typically see pretty bad. Because you know what's happening right now? I'm thinking of selling my house. Is my first call a realtor? Typically, what am I doing? I'm going on Zillow, I'm going on Realtor.com, I'm going on Redfin. I'll use the same example. I'm thinking about buying a new car. I haven't called a car dealership. I've been looking online. Right? And I'm trying to narrow down which dealership I want to walk into and do the dance. That's it's just what technology has done. Let me stop. Does anyone have any questions for me so far? No? Truth is, week 1, when all the agents are going to talk to that for sale by owner, half of them will never do another follow-up. After week 2, 75% won't. 90% won't after week 3, and after a month, nobody's going to be there anymore. So if you can automate some of this with a email campaign, with an item of value, there's ways you could do this where if you're trying to scale it, and then you could do a phone call drop, you could do a voicemail drop. I mean, you could do all these different things. But it's a great way to go after for sale by owners. You know, you can send them, if it was me and I was setting up a new campaign for sale by owners and I just met somebody, I got their email address, I put them in the system, the first thing they would do is get a video from me. I'm sure you're all shocked to hear that. Great meeting you, best of luck selling your house. I mean, very positive, very, very positive. Too many agents go into for sale by owners confrontational and negative, and it just keeps rubbing the seller the wrong way. Because what are most people's attitudes about agents when they go to for sale by owner of their house anyway? You can't feed into their attitude. If you're still around week 4, week 8, I mean, they're going to discover you're different than others. So here are some resources. Make Me Moves. There's for sale by owner leads on Zillow. Again, the Land Voice, Red X, Vulcan 7, yard signs, like I said. You drive around, you see FSBOs. And I know agents, you love when you see that in your own neighborhood. Oh, nothing gets agents more heated, right? And you see it in your own neighborhood.
Can I stop you right there real quick?
Yeah.
What is the Land Voice, Red X, and Vulcan 7?
So these are computer programs where they could get phone numbers and resources for sale by owners, that type of stuff. If you want to go that route.
Right.
Craigslist, forsalebyowner.com. All right, I got to tell you guys, part of my email campaign for sale by owners was I had a link to the article about the owner of forsalebyowner.com selling his house with a realtor. Week 4, a little of that aha moment that you're not the only one going through this struggle. Yeah.
Are you gonna, is this gonna be accessible?
Yeah. And we're recording this too. But yeah, the slides will be accessible to send out. Farming and direct mail. Truth is, it's not dead. Truth is, a lot of people do it, I think, wrong. Who here has like the junk drawer, like the mail drawer at their house? Like they get mail, it's not that important right away, you put it in a drawer, you get to it later.
Me.
It's pretty, yeah. So my family, we got this sick thing that we do, is we have all the mailing I get from agents to my house. And even my wife's like, did you see this, how bad this is? And she'll like slide it over. I'm like, oof, ooh. There was one and I knew her. You know, she kept saying she was the key to my home and my sale. And every time I read it, I was like, oh, I just wanted to call her and say, just please stop sending this. It's not dead, but it only works when it's done consistently and effectively. And you also have to be mailing to the right area. It needs to be an area with a turnover rate. Does everyone know how to calculate a turnover rate? You take how many houses are in the subdivision that you're mailing to, and you divide it by how many houses have sold in the last year, 2 years. And you want something over like 6, 7%. Because I see agents who are like, well, if I'm gonna mail to like this ultra luxury area. But you know what happens in those areas that you're mailing to where the turnover rate is 1% or 2%? Good luck. You're gonna lose out to people who get referrals and everything else. You gotta be mailing to an area that has a high turnover rate. You know, starter communities where people buy and then they go move up, your townhouse communities, your condo communities, that the subdivision where a lot of people might be moving out because they're moving to 55 pluses or out of states. Those are the type of areas you want to, but I always say follow the data. So you want to pick the area that has the highest turnover rates. So what I say about this too is, you know, don't just brag about yourself in the mailer. And what I mean by that is I get a lot of mailers that say, hey, I was Circle of Excellence Magenta. I was this club, I won this award. What does that mean to the seller? My dad doesn't know what Circle of Excellence Award is, right? I am my parents' #1 realtor by default, but it can't just be about you when you're mailing. You want to talk about what are sellers thinking about when they're looking to move. We had agents during the pandemic and right around the time of March that were just mailing out, thanking the local service, nurses and frontline workers. No call to action, no everything else. But you know, it can't just all be about you. You use mailers too. So who here has used a QR code in the last year? Where you go to a restaurant, you scan the QR code, you get the, right? Not in real estate, but like in life. No. But let me ask you a question. Who here is, I've used a QR code. I used to think they were old and outdated. I didn't even know how to use a QR code until last March. Right? So if I was going to do a mailer, I would say on my mailer, I would have a QR code and I would simply put, see why I'm not your typical agent. Scan me. They scan it, a website pops up, I got a video, I'm doing some song, and but you just want to make yourself stand out of how you're different. And I did this. We had an agent that recently joined our company a few months ago. Young kid, he's crushing it. And he sent me his mailer before he joined. He's like, what do you think of it? I said, I think it's absolutely horrible. I said, there's nothing here. You talk about stage, it's not you. You have a QR code with your website address above it. Why am I going to scan it? You already have the website address there. You want to walk people through a path. Because if somebody might not be ready now who gets your mailer, your goal is to try to get some of their contact information and get them into your funnel. Who in this room plans on being in real estate in 6 months? So if a lead's not ready now, are you ready to work with them in 6 months? So we can't ignore them. So in your mailers, you want to have something that's going to attract. I am blessed to be in a mastermind group with some of the top teams and agents in North America. I mean, we're talking about the #1 team at RE/MAX, #1 team in other brands in this group. And you know what everyone is saying they're getting the best result of right now with mailing? Is community. Community, community, community. And I know we have some agents in this room that do a great job with that. But if you're mailing a specific area, it doesn't always have to be about, you won this award, you won that award. It just could be mailing showing that you're part of the community. I always use a story. We have an agent in East Brunswick. She has like 30% of the market share. She's everywhere. Right? You go to the mailers, you go to the fair day, she's there. I woke up this morning, my wife's wearing a t-shirt with her name on it, with the logo. I'm like, I can't escape her. I grab a coffee mug this morning, it's her coffee mug, right? But she's just so big into the community. We joke around that there's a force field around East Brunswick that her car bounces off of and doesn't let her out of the town. And some of you probably know who I'm speaking about with this agent, but she does incredible business in that town, and she's all about the community in her mailers. You have to stand out from your competition. That's what I'm saying, is everybody's gonna say, they're the #1 this, they're that, they got this, we're the #1 website on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 a.m. Right? Everyone knows how to skew stats. But what is standing you out? I always say this, is what are you gonna mail that you're not gonna end up in my junk drawer or right into the garbage? I mailed to short sale leads a handwritten letter. A lady called me about it 4 years after I wasn't even in production anymore. She calls me and says, I want to list my house. I'm like, where did you get my contact information from? She's like, I got your handwritten letter that you sent 4 years ago. For some reason, it just resonated with me and I kept it. My first thought was, I do not want to walk in this person's house. If she saved a letter from 4 years ago, how much other stuff is she saving? But it made me stand out. And all I did was make it look like a handwritten letter. I paid my sister-in-law at the time, who was in college or whatever, $50 to do it. Handwrite it, we hand wrote the envelopes because we wanted it to stand out. How do you get your mailing to resonate? It could be the local high school football schedule. If you're really focusing on a community, you want to be an expert in that community. And that's how you can show it. And we're going to talk a little bit more about how you can show it. But community, community, community. What's making you stand out? What are you mailing that's going to help the seller? We helped an agent with a mailer. And what did we talk about? It was during the pandemic. How to show your house safely during a pandemic, because people are concerned about that, right? We're also going to talk to you when selling your house. We're going to talk about how to sell your house without having 50 people come through it. Because you know what we're doing as agents right now? Is we're putting pictures up of open house line with 50 people out there and other people thinking, oh my God, I gotta have 50 people through my house on a Sunday to sell my house. But most of you probably could take a listing and sell the house without having 50 people through it right now, right? You have to mail to what the concerns and what's going on in the marketplace. You can use data. So if you come into my house and you want to list my house with data, you're probably not going to get my listing. Because I'm going to be like, what? Oh, man. I don't know. What? But you might be dealing with somebody who's an engineer or somebody who's a numbers person. You better have data and not all fluff. I'm more like, hey, show me the shiny object. Oh, that's cool. Wait, what does that? I'm like, whoa. More so than, well, I got 175% of the ARV. You know, that's just not how I'm wired. I'm shiny object. But you got to also pump out the, try a mailer with the data. Here are the recent sales. You can market community events. We have an agent who does a great job. Every July, she does a town-wide garage sale. She maps it out. We do a press release. She gets so much business from that because she's just known as the expert in that town because of what she's doing. The community events, I mean, right? Hopefully this year we should be seeing a lot more of, we have East Brunswick Day, Old Bridge Day, Hamilton Day, right? You can mail out about that information. It doesn't always have to be like, hey, if you want to sell your house. You can put, you're going to put hints in there, but it doesn't have to be all about that. It's about being the expert. Track your results. This is what I said to this agent who joined us after he showed me his mailer and I ripped it apart. How many of you get phone calls? Who here picks up Mark, don't raise your hand. Who here picks up every single phone call you get? You guys are good. Well, it's not stupid. It's good because it could be leads. But let's just say 5 people raise their hand. How many people do we have in this room? Call it 30 something? Right? So let's just call it maybe 10% pick up the phone. So that means 90% of agents don't pick up a lot of the phone calls. So let me ask you this, is how many of you would be upset if you leave here, you have a voice message, it's somebody that you sent a mailer to, they said, hey, I got your mailer or whatever else, and you're never able to speak to that person again. The lead just completely ghosts you. Would you be upset? I'd be pissed. It's happened to me. Now let me ask you a question. If you're sitting here right now and you have your cell phone on, Travis, and your cell phone rang mailer lead, what would you do? You wouldn't walk, you'd run out.
Well, I'm trying to be nice.
I know, it's all right, I could take it. You would run out of this room. If I was standing there, you knocked me over. So there's things, and we've talked about this in one of our recent masterminds for the office, is about the tracking phone numbers. So if somebody's calling my mailer, they're going to be calling a specific number, and my cell phone will ring mailer lead. So there's programs like Better Voice, Call Fire, tracking phone numbers. You don't have to put, and the best part is I don't have to put my cell phone out there to everybody. So we use the tracking phone numbers, and we put them in all of our different lead sources. We've done this with agents who have spent, they say, well, every time someone calls me, I ask them where I get my name and number. I'm like, no, you don't. It's impossible. You're driving, you're distracted. But what happens if you put these tracking phone numbers in all your different lead sources with programs like Better Voice, Call Fire, Call Rail, is that you're able to track where your leads are coming from without having to ask, where did you get my contact information? So instead of guessing whether or not your mailers work, you now know whether or not your mailers work because you have the data behind it. And also this is, who here has ever picked up the phone call and be like, hello? Oh yeah, hi, I was looking for Carl. I'm thinking about you selling my house. Like, hello, what a beautiful day we're having today, right? But if you see the lead coming in and it says mailer lead, you're gonna know how to take that phone call. And you're probably going to pick it up a lot different than if it was just a random phone number. And we have it to the point where it would ring mailer lead, short sale lead. So our conversion rate was through the roof. And it's not that it wasn't that tricky to set up. I figured it out one day. A Better Voice, Call Fire, but You could even start with Google Voice. Google Voice is a free service. You could get a phone number. I used to put the tracking phone numbers on my signs, and then it would go out to and then when they would call, it would go out to buyer's agents to work the leads. So I was able to track who picked up the call. I was able to record it, check for quality. And what we're able to do is these small little hinges made big differences in our business. Right now, I've not gone over a technique that nobody in this room hasn't heard before. But all I'm doing is trying to give you small little ways to maybe improve it and get a better return on it. So, we talk about this in your mailer. If I would send a mailer, I would think, take a minute. What makes you better than other agents? This, guys don't have to start shouting it out. Just take a minute. What makes you better than other agents? Why should someone hire you instead of a different agent? So before I would send marketing to me is you want them to know what it's like to work with you before they work with you. Who here has had a buyer or seller who said, hey, Matt, if I knew how great it was to work with you, I would have worked with you before and not work with the other agent? Right? You know what, Matt? And not you, Matt. I'm just not using this as an example, obviously. But you know what? If someone says that, shame on you for not marketing why it's so great to work with you. Right? I'm my parents' #1 realtor. Doesn't mean I'm everybody else's #1 realtor. And man, my parents were some clients. Oof. It's fun working with family, right? So when you get this down, that's your marketing. All right. Referrals influence top of mind. Newsflash, with all the technology and all the other crap out there, this is still the #1 pillar of every agent's business. Right? I know a lot of people in this room, big Brian Buffini fan. I'm a Buffini fan. Referrals are going to be your #1 lead source. And do you know what happens when agents do a bad job with their follow-up on past clients and referrals? That's what allows the tech companies to get in between you and your clients when you're not doing a good job with your database. That is what allowed tech companies to come in and disrupt the industry. Listen, and I've been there. But when you get this humming at the right, I always tell agents is you got to have this down 95%, 100%. When you have this down, then you start looking at adding in other lead sources. I tell the story, I told it to Matt the other day. I have an agent I work with, platinum producer, joined me, did 56 deals. So I sat down with him, I said, let's break down deal by deal where all your deals came through. 1/3 came from expired. He's a big Mike Ferry guy. 1/3 of his leads came from Zillow. Another 1/3 of his leads came from past clients and referrals. He had never done this exercise before, and he just stared at me and goes, I can't believe this. I said, you're spending all your time, energy, and effort on 1/3. You're spending a hell of a lot of money on your second third. And you're doing nothing for the other 1/3. I'm like, does that make sense? So let's take a little bit of your energy from the expireds. Let's take a little bit of your money from your Zillow, and let's put it into your past clients and referrals. He sat down, and I got him tracking all of his leads. He said he spent $12,000 on past clients and referrals and got a return of over $185,000. Who here hates working with referrals? Oh, you're all paying attention. Referrals are the best. You don't have to sell yourself. You're not pitching why you're one of the best 3. But let me say this, is who here is falling in this trap? You get a listing referral and you treat it a little bit different than you would if somebody you didn't know and you didn't get the listing because you went in a little bit on your heels. I did that. I got a referral. It was a kid I wrestled with dad. I'm like, I'm going to stroll in this. He's going to sign and I'm going to stroll right out. And I didn't get the listing. You know why? Because I didn't go in with the same process I would go in. And as I matured in business, excuse me, is I noticed I want everybody to get the same experience of working with me. And I got lazy with the referral because I went in cocky thinking I was gonna get it. And what did I do? I see it come up on the hot sheet and I did one of these. Boom! Head right on the desk. Like that was a layup. And you couldn't finish it. So I learned a very valuable lesson that you treat the referrals the same way you would treat someone who's not a referral. Truth is too, you could be really nice. You could be like the nicest person in the world and never get a referral. Because you could be bad at your job. Right? You could be super nice and never get a referral, or you could be super nice and never get a referral because you never stayed in contact and in front of people and they forget you. We wake up every day thinking about how to build our businesses, how to get clients, but you know what? Our past clients don't. Past clients aren't waking up and be like, how can I get Carl some business today? You could be really, really good and never build a referral business. I mean, you could be that contract person, like everything's perfect, perfect transaction. Who here thought they had a really good past client, everything went really well, you thought the job was perfect, and you see them list their house with somebody else? It happens, right? You could be very, very good and never build a referral business. How do you run your referral business? And I know people who are really deep with Buffini have this down. But when you look at your business, do you know what is going out for the next 8 months to your database? Do you have your database together? And I know it's a challenge. And what I want to say by database is your referrals and past clients is not somebody who inquired on homes.com about one of your listings. Right? These are people who know you, like you, and want to do business with you. And I ask agents this all the time, especially when I'm interviewing them about coming to the company. I say, if you sold me a house a year ago, how have I heard from you and in what manner? Because if you're able to answer that question exactly specifically, great. But if you can't, that's room to be able to improve and grow. And with technology, it makes it even easier. You know, and you could leverage video with it, because what's great with video is you could be in front of 200 people, 500 people without really being in front of them. Because what happens with video is you build that rapport, you build that, you know, you ever see these things like people on TV where they see him, like, oh, I feel like I know him. Or they, like the public star does something that people, oh, I can't believe he would do that. Well, how do you know? You don't know him. You've only seen him on TV. Right? Or athletes, it's because they see him, they build that rapport. Same thing when you're doing video and using that to stay in front of your clients. So you want to run your referral business like you could franchise it. And I would say this is every December, except for last year, agents like to go down to Atlantic City for Realtor Spring Break, right? Right? For some reason, agents tell me they're too busy to set this up, but they find enough time to be at the B Bar at Borgata for Realtor Spring Break. Right? So I like to sit down in December and map out what I'm going to do for the next Realtor Spring Break. It always gets everyone. And I got to give credit. That was Olivier's quote that I stole from him because he calls it Realtor Spring Break. It's called, right, yeah. I got to give Olivier credit. I wouldn't do that to him. So in December, I would like to map out, because what happens in December too? Is it usually busier or slower? So I take that slow time to plan out what I'm doing for the next year. So I would know what exactly I'm sending, how I'm going to do it, and I have it mapped out. Because you know what happens when you have it mapped out? It's not May 1st. You're like, what am I going to do this month? You should be in front of your past clients and referral once a month with something. It doesn't have to be anything big. So this is an issue. So this agent that I'm talking about that we broke down his deals was 1/3 expires, 1/3 Zillow, and 1/3 past clients. He's like, Carl, it's like, what do I do to get in front of these people? I feel weird, right? Nobody wants to call somebody and say, hey, I'm just checking in, right? Worst phone call you can make. It's awkward for you to make it. It's awkward for them to get it. So he's like, what can I do? So what we did was we did a client appreciation event. He did it with a lender. They rented out an area at a restaurant, a loft. And what happened was this made him reconnect to his database. So he called everybody, he texted everybody, and he mailed everybody. And I'll never forget this. He walks in my office and sits down in a chair. He says, Carl, I got one call to make. I'm like, well, why are you sitting in here telling me about it? He's like, well, I don't know if it was a good experience. The deal kind of went sideways a little bit. I'm like, call. I said, what's the worst case scenario? He's like, the guy doesn't like me. So what happens if you call him? He still doesn't like you. He's like, all right, I'll make the call. He makes the call. Guy shows up to the client appreciation party. Within 30 days, he gets 2 referrals from that guy. Because he thought they had a bad transaction, but the seller didn't think they had a bad transaction. But he always laughs because he brings that guy. Because every once in a while, I'll see him be like, hey, I bring up that story to him. Because that was a great way to get back in front of people. I know an agent who does a big charity event every year for CMN. He typically wins the high CMN, does casino nights, does all these events. And he says to me, he goes, well, the real reason, I do it because I love doing it, but I get so many referrals at the same time. So he goes, it makes me feel good about what we're doing, and it also helps the business. It's a win-win. I know another agent in Somerset County. She does a big charity event for breast cancer every year, and she says, she enjoys doing it, she's passionate about it, and it generates her business. She's like, that's not the reason I do it, but that's also what happens. So it's a great way to reach out to referrals. Anything community, we do a lot with CMN, Children's Miracle Network, things like that. So this is what I'm talking about too, is these are your clients, right? Where are your people? Advocates are your core people. The advocates are the time where someone says, oh, I'm thinking about buying and selling. Like, oh, you got to call this agent, right? Those are your advocates. Right, then you got some people who are kind of on the less. And then you got people on the fringe who really aren't, who are acquaintances. But this group is what you really got to focus on. When I ask people, how big is your database? And, 1,000 people, I laugh. Your database is not 1,000 people. You might have 1,000 people who put an email in and inquired about one of your properties, but Mark, 1,000 people in a database that you really know?
It's usually 100 or so.
Yeah, it's like my Facebook. I got 2,000 friends and 5 in real life. But it's like, but right, your database is who knows you, likes you, trusts you. It is usually your top, most of your referrals will probably come from 25 people or less.
Right.
Those are the ones you got to focus on. And go deep on those relationships, not wide. So like I said, I would do an email at least once a month and a phone call at least once a quarter. But I always have a saying when you're making calls, call with a purpose. When you call with a purpose, and if it's a client event, it's a charity thing, and we do this in our East Brunswick location, and we did coat drives, and we had scripts, because it was an easy way to reach out to your past clients about coat. We do toy drives. We load up my truck, dress up as Santa Claus. We go to St. Peter's Hospital in New Brunswick, and we donate the toys. But agents also use it as a way to reach out to their past clients. They would do a client appreciation event and say, hey, bring a toy for Toys for Tots to the event. Right? Such a great way to stay in front of your database and give back, which is super important, and it's something that I'm passionate about, especially as we grow. Really knock it out of the park. You could do a closed Facebook group. The best thing that I heard at this client, I've been to so many client appreciation events, but what I love about the past client appreciation events is people there start mingling and start referring each other business. Thanks, Gina.
I can't believe I
All right. You could be number one to your group. Who's heard of Amelia Earhart? What did she do? Right, first one to fly across. She's the first female, right? The Lindbergh was the first one to do it. First male. So Lindbergh was first one, and Amelia Earhart was the third person to do it. Who was the second person to do it?
This is his point.
The second person who did it faster and in less fuel. Bert Hinkler, my man Bert. Poor guy gets no love. But you know why nobody knows who the heck Bert Hinkler is? He wasn't the first in your so you could create your own category. You need to be first with your past clients. You don't want to be Bert Hinkler with your past clients and let a tech company or someone else be number one. I'm huge on this. Too many agents I see get a referral from a client, the property closes, they send them something, under $25, whatever. How long does it take before you get a lead and you get to closing? Months? Sometimes years, Joan, right? Yeah, sometimes years. Right, so it could take a while. So they waited 6 months to acknowledge somebody who went out of their way to refer you a client. Again, getting attached to your process and not getting attached to your immediate result. So what I like to do if somebody would give me a referral is right away, handwritten note, Starbucks $5 gift card, send it to them. Regardless if I ever talk to that client again. Because I'm not worried about whether or not I get that referral and close them at house. I'm worried about the relationship. And I'm worried about that person wanting to refer me more business because I acknowledge them. Maslow's hierarchies of needs, one of the second, third things is about being acknowledged, being involved. How many other referrals in that 6 months could you have lost out on because you didn't take the time to acknowledge it? Don't wait for closing. Yeah, Chris.
I do 25, and I read at the top of the file. As soon as I don't even go out on the listing, and it's already in there.
Yeah,
As soon as they tell me how they got the lead.
100%.
25,
Yeah.
25, I buy them ahead of time, they're right at my desk, I pull them out, I don't
Yep.
have to go buy it.
I do the same thing, and I would use a $5 Starbucks gift card, a business gift card. You get it. It's branded to me. It would have my logo on it. It would have my name, handwritten note. Thank you so much for thinking of me. Coffee on me. Something I've been seeing, and we had an agent in our East Brunswick office do this, and I thought it was fantastic about staying in front of your past clients. Where are most of your past clients and sphere right now? On social media. Right? When I got my real estate license in 2006, like, Carl, make a list of everybody you know, mail them a card. I'm like, I'm my friends. I don't know anybody. Right now, your whole sphere and past clients are on Facebook. Another thing is take your online relationships offline. So what do I mean by that is if you haven't already in Facebook, I would set up a list with all your past clients. So you could go to that list and you could just go on their feed and see what they're doing. So what I do with that, if I see a past client, and let's just say a past client just had a big moment in their life, hopefully not buying or selling a house, though, Mark, But let's just say they had a big moment in their life, grandchild, something happened, you call them. Just got their real estate license.
Got one of them.
Yeah, oh yeah, everyone's got one of them right now. Right, but a big moment in their life.
It's got two of them in the last.
Mark, it's because you made it look so easy. That's what I tell agents. So you want to take online, offline. Send them a handwritten congratulations, send them a onesies, whatever it might be to acknowledge what they're having. But when you take online to offline, it's a game changer. It shows you care. They're going to give you everything to follow up about. I mean, more people, some more than others, jeez. right? But something could be going on, a kid could be graduating college, something, kid's birthday. Send a happy birthday card to your client's child. It doesn't have to be expensive. I mean, the $5 Starbucks gift card, you can't even get a caramel macchiato. You know, some of these prices at Starbucks are ridiculous. Thanks to my wife, I know. I can't even say half the order. But you send them something just as a little token of appreciation, and that will make more people advocates. So again, take off online, offline. October client party, we talked a little bit about that. I'm going to send these slides out, but these are just some of the things that you could be doing. If you haven't already, a great place to start to market your past clients for a price cheaper than anywhere else, the personal marketing company. You can send out really nice branded newsletters that you get in the mail for such a low cost. I don't even know how they do it because they have such mass. But the personal marketing company is such a great place. Once a quarter, they'll send out a really professional looking newsletter for you. Any questions about this? And again, be consistent. Yes?
I have a question.
Sure.
It's really good material, don't get me wrong, when you're off of it, you just don't do off of it. But if you're like lost, and you just went over this, where would you start?
For the referrals?
Yeah, if you have a database, and you're on Facebook, and you haven't done any of this, where would you suggest we start?
I would have some type of event that you could leverage to reach out to people. Whether it's a charity thing, you're doing Toys for Tots, doing jackets during the winter, or any type of need for a food bank, anything like that, I would do an event. Because it's a lot easier to make a phone call saying, hey, instead of saying, hey, Sabrina, I know I haven't talked to you in 3 years. How are you? Sabrina's like, what the hell? I'm good. Right? It's awkward for me to make the phone call, right? No, I know, because I've been there. I've done this. This isn't just like theory. So, but if I say, hey, Sabrina, it's Carl. I know we haven't spoken in a while. How are you? By the way, we are running an event for the local food bank. If you have any canned foods or anything, you can drop them off at the office, or I could pick them up. I just want to reach out to everybody because I'm passionate about doing this. That's a lot less awkward phone call for me to make, and it's a lot less awkward of a phone call for Sabrina to get. Whether it could be something for the town, getting the coat drive. So we do the coat drive, and we have people coming from out of town because in the town because we're marketing just to drop it off. Right? It's just another way for everybody in town to know our company. So that's a great question because you're right. You can listen to all this, but where do you start? What's step one? Yeah. 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 It depends on the event, but yeah. But yeah, we make it drop-off points and stuff like that. Yep. All right, step 5, online and social media. My most hated one, but it works. Again, where are your past clients' referrals and sphere? They're online. I got a request for someone to, just the other day I got a DM from somebody on Facebook I went to high school with, who I haven't talked to since high school, looking to buy. I see your stuff, bop, 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 I know you're in business, and they reach out. And we do a lot of our business stuff on our page, and I always get the question about personal page and business page, and I say your personal page just eventually becomes your business page. So we try to post something motivational, we try to post something personal, and try to post something business. My kids usually are the ones that are the winners of engagement, man. So first thing first is Google pay-per-click ads and SEO and YouTube. So everyone's thinking, does this work? Every year we pay out referral checks every month to these companies. So you see how it says ad next to it? That means someone's paying to be up there on that Google search. So people ask me if it really works, and I say, well, I pay commission checks out for this all the time. If you have a pen, there's something else you want to do. It's not in my slides because this has come out since after my slides and I got lazy last night. Called Google LSA, Google Local Service Ads. What Google Local Service Ads does, it allows you to be on top. So you ever search like a business, put like Remax Hamilton, and then it comes up the business with the website and the phone number? What Google Local Service Ad does is you actually have to apply to be verified by Google. So you apply, you put your license, everything else. You pay when people actually call and click. So if someone searches best agent in Hamilton, best agent in Columbus, wherever the town might be, is you could come up there, and if somebody calls, you pay for when somebody calls. Listen, is every lead going to be a home run? But no, but if you show me a source that is, but people are getting come list me leads off of that. Right? So, if I was an agent and I was trying to market the best realtor in East Brunswick, New Jersey, I would create a YouTube video. I would go on a website like Fiverr.com, Fiverr.com. What you can do on Fiverr.com is you can have somebody that can help you boost your video. So YouTube, who owns YouTube?
Facebook.
Google. YouTube's the second biggest search engine in the United States. Number one is Google. So what I would want, so if you post your stuff on YouTube and it gets engagement, it can rank in your searches. And I'm kind of giving you guys like a little broad brush of how it works. It could go a lot deeper than this. And I know some people in this room have gone deeper with this and their head just spins. All right, but people will Google it. Who here would love to just sell real estate in like one local area? All right. I, being the REO gentleman that I was lucky enough to sell real estate from Teaneck to Cape May. My dad was on vacation once in Cape May, and I got an REO in Villa, New Jersey. Does anyone even know where Villa, New Jersey? I didn't even know where it was. Villa. Oh, Villas. Luckily, it's right next to Cape May, where my dad happened to be on vacation. So instead of me driving 2.5 hours, I had the luxury of calling my dad and ruining his day on the beach. You could become the local expert in your area with video. Right? Whenever you look at building a presence, I always say, would you rather be calling people to come work with you, or would you rather have people calling you? You want people calling you. We call it the magnet effect. Right? You want to build a magnet. You want people to come to you. So we did a video contest in our office. Who here participated in the video contest, and who here got a lead or two from the video contest? So it looks like about 80% got a lead from doing the video contest. How much did you guys spend doing the video?
Nothing. Just time,
Time,
which was not a lot.
and for me in the beginning, humility, and stepping outside my comfort zone. All right? So I'm sorry I shared a way for you guys to generate leads without really costing them any money. Right? This goes back to spending $19.95 a month. So when you do the video, you can do a non-branded real estate page, Robinville Specialist, Central Jersey Real Estate, whatever it might be. You want to post it on that business page. Newsflash, nobody's going to see it. Wow, Carl, that's a great technique. You're telling me how to post things that nobody's going to see. Because on a business page, Facebook's not going to show it. Who here thinks Facebook is a company that wants to make profits? So they want you to pay to do it. So what you want to do is you want to take your cell phone. When you do video, you have 3 seconds to get somebody's attention, or they move on to this. So what happens is I'll see video where people are like, hey, happy Thursday, video world. Boom, nobody's watching. Hi, everybody. It's Carl Sanfilippo. I got a long last name. That's more than 3 seconds, right? They're off to the next video. It's a race and a competition for the eyeballs, and it's never been as crowded as it is now. Right? You always want to start with some type of hook. 22 houses that sold for over list price in your neighborhood today. Hi, everybody. It's Carl Sanfilippo with Remax. Right? You want to use some type of hook, get people involved in the video. So you put it on your business page, share it to your personal page, and then what you do is this, is on your business page, you boost that post. It could be a market update, it could be you at the town fair, it could be anything. Talking about the market, things you see sellers are facing in this market. Learn how to sell your house during a pandemic. 3 tips to make your sale as easy as possible. Hey everybody, it's Carl Sanfilippo. Right, you got to play around with these hooks. You put it on your business page. Let's just say you're focused on Ewing. You can just spend $5 a day and just have that video boosted around the Ewing community as an ad. So what happens is this: they get your postcard. They've seen your signs. Your signs are your billboards, right? I always say your for sale signs are your billboards. They see your billboards around in the yard, and then they see that video on their social media feed. Are people spending more or less time on social media? More. Does anyone here get the alerts on Sunday of how much time they spend on their phone and they get depressed? I'm like, that can't be right. There must have been an app running in the background that kept this thing going. Right? But this is how you're starting to connect the dots. This is how you're marketing at a high level. I went to a broker open. I've been in one broker open in probably 3 years. I went to the broker open and then someone goes, oh, you're Carl Sanfilippo. I see you everywhere. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, I get your emails. I see your videos. I see your ads. It's I know I took it as a compliment because we're marketing. So this is just kind of what you can do to connect the dots, but I can't tell you how many people are like, oh, I do a video or 2 and I get a lead. It's like, well, imagine if you're doing that consistently. And you know what? You don't need the videographer. You don't need a professional setup. You just got to do it. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, Carl, I see your videos now. You have a lot of professional video. Yeah, you're seeing more of my page 10 than my page 1. Where I did some really bad videos in the beginning, like embarrassing. But I learned, and I just did it. It doesn't always have to be a call to action. It doesn't always have to be, and if you know of anyone thinking about buying or selling, call me at da. It doesn't always have to be a call to action. It's just providing value, especially if you do it locally in a town, and you really focus on that community and double down, it should be less call to actions. Right? You do it on Facebook. Instagram. Who owns Instagram? Facebook. You know what I do with videos? So I'll take that video. You know the video will have a link. So the Facebook page will have a link that goes to that video. I'll send out an email blast with a video. They click to play the video. It plays my Facebook video. It goes to my page. They don't have to be my friend to see it because it's public. Why do I do that? Some of this is like real, like, Carl, how do you know this? Because guess what happens? They now click on my video, they see my video. Who's going to show up in the algorithm on Facebook next time they go on? Me. Because somebody in San Francisco is a little bell going off thinking, oh, this person actually cares what Carl has to say, so we have to show them more of Carl. Right? We all know how manipulated these algorithms are. It's all over the news. So instead of sending them a YouTube video, I'll send them a Facebook video, and we've done this. I sent out a video I did for this training. I posted it 5 days earlier. I sent it out. My video started getting likes and comments again, and it started coming back up in the algorithms. So we take the one video and we use it in 5 different ways. This could be a training in itself. So I know I'm giving you kind of the broad brush, and if you guys want to learn more about this is another training that I'll be happy to do. And then what we do with the video is we take the video, because not everybody's going to watch it. We upload it to a website, rev.com. What Rev will do, it will transcribe everything I say in the video for $1 a minute. So you know what I do with that transcription of that video? I put it in the post. I put it in the email. So these are what we do to, and it becomes it. Boost it to the targeted area. Write the video content out in your post, like I just discussed. You could leverage it with past clients. I know an agent, I won't say her name, who did a video and went more data on the video and got about 4 listing leads from it. I won't say her name. Right? Because it works. Facebook ads, seller seminars. We have an agent that joined Office East Brunswick. She's like, Carl, I have this crazy idea about doing a seller seminar. I said, what's crazy about it, right? During the height of the pandemic, she did a Zoom. We ran Facebook ads and we marketed, learn how to sell your house during a pandemic, how to do it safely, how to do this, how to do that. She spent $100 on it and got 2 sellers from it. 1 right away, 1 down the line. Again, because she's like, well, what if only 2 people show up? You don't want 2 listings. The tragedy. Right? People get so worried about how many people are going to register, how many people are going to come. It doesn't matter if you have 100 people, it doesn't matter if you have 2 people. It doesn't matter what you get out of it. And if someone's not ready to sell right now, but they might be ready in a year, again, are you going to be in the business in a year? You're going to market to that client. Right? It's about building your sales funnel. And a lot of this stuff I learned in The Ultimate Sales Letter, the book I recommended in the beginning. All right. So people are thinking, Carl, how do you do all this? You need like a full-time, this is like a full-time job, right? Small hinges swing big doors. You don't need an assistant. There's websites, Fiverr.com, Upwork.com. I used Google pay-per-click ads to generate short sale leads. I have no idea how to set up a Google pay-per-click. 1 month I took 15 listings. 15 listings. I don't know how to set it up, but for $150, I found somebody who did, and we ran the ads. So my little advice too about working with and not all these virtuals are overseas. You could get people on Fiverr who live in Massachusetts, who live in Texas, anywhere, India, Pakistan. There's talent across the world. So what I did, this is my process of how I would hire people, is I would put a job out there, a small job, say some 20, 30 bucks, something I needed done. I would give the job to 3 people. So I'd pay for it 3 times, cost me $60. I think Matt, I was sharing this with you the other day. And then what I would do is, whoever did the best job, I knew who to go back to. So yeah, maybe I spent a little bit more money in the upfront to get it done. But now I could go back and I knew I was getting the pricing I wanted to from that person to do editing or whatever it needed, graphics. There's another website, onlinejobs.ph, where you could get virtual assistants direct. But there's so much talent there across the world, but that's what I did to help scale. The key is to find out what your strength is for generating seller leads and double down on it. I am by no means telling you to go out there and start trying to do all 5 of these things. Not one bit. What I'm trying to do is help you think about ways that might be a little bit outside of your comfort zone, or how to implement something that you're already doing a little bit more. Wow, it's 12 o'clock. I've been going on for 2 hours. I'll wrap it up. So we have a URL, thankyouFromCarl.com. If you want to get some of the scripts and everything, go in there, put your email address. Don't worry, I'm not going to try to sell you anything. I know most of you anyway. And you can get some of the scripts. Because watch, you're going to go there, you're going to see a video. And the reason I want to do this too is because I want to show you and give you some of the ideas of how to do this. So Oh man, look at that 8-year-old headshot. Does anyone have any questions? Comments? Did anyone get anything out of this?
Yes.
Nobody? Yes, Joan.
Do we, as a company, do we have anything for National Night Out that we do? That would be the next thing I think coming up as a community.
We don't, but we could look into doing something.
I mean, every single community has that. And it's August 1st.
Oh, it is?
It's now August 1st every year. Obviously, they did it last year.
Right.
Police stations, right?
I don't know where.
They do them all over.
Every single state has some National Night Out.
No, we'll look into doing something for it. That's a good idea. Because like I said, looking about a good place to start.
That's why it's
Community.
something that's a community. That's a big deal. And I know, I just got notified that Kiwanis is doing it, so I know that it is on this year in Ewing anyway.
Good. No, we'll definitely, we'll do something for it.
Italian festival is good too, stuff like
If
that.
they're gonna do it.
Yeah. But there's always things, you'll start noticing now, like things that you can leverage and reach out to your past clients about. It doesn't always have to be about real estate. People know you're in real estate. It's just about staying top of mind. Any other questions?
You said something about doing a class, an additional class on online and social media, and you have another program that you have?
Yeah, we're gonna, in July, keep an eye out. We're gonna do a Facebook ads class.
Okay, cool.
We'll build off of it. I don't know about you guys, but it feels good to do this in person again. Yeah. I don't have to do this in front of a green screen and be only, I like to move apparently, so I like not to be able to move 2 inches. But listen, I know how busy everybody is right now, so it means a lot to me that you took time out of your busy schedule to come. I hope you got some value out of it. This is our first back, but we are gonna keep doing these trainings in person, so keep an eye out. And thanks again, everybody.
Thank